So I moved not too long ago, right? You probably saw the video. And we moved to an area with a way bigger yard and house and a kind of a unique neighborhood. And a lot of people are calling asking for this kind of thing right now. And I want to talk about the areas in Tampa where you can find it, where you can find a bigger yard, where you can find less cookie cutter, no HOA. Here we go. I'm Sam, and we make these videos at the Living in Tampa channel for you to understand what it's like to live and move to Tampa. And we are also a team of realtors here in the Tampa area, and we'd love a chance to earn your real estate business. Give us a call, text, or email anytime. If you get value out of these videos, we want to hear from you. We'd love to hop on a call or a Zoom call and just process your situation and see how we can best help. So when we moved from a very charming area, actually just down the road from where I am right now. I'm in this neighborhood because I was at that house, our old house that flooded. You probably saw those videos too. Just checking in on the drywall contractors. And I decided to stop at this park here nearby to shoot a few videos. You know, nice water view, it's beautiful outside. Some leaves are falling off the oak trees, but overall it's beautiful right now. So we moved from this walkable, charming, downtown-ish kind of neighborhood in a smaller town to an area that's a little more suburban, but not the cookie cutter master plan community suburbs that we often talk about. We moved to an area where the minimum lot size is 1 acre. So we have a full acre, and we have a house on that, obviously. And some of that has grass, some of that is wooded. It's really interesting. But since I started talking about that, people started calling me about finding other areas like that. And because I've recently searched for areas like this, I am pretty familiar. You know, people call me and they say, okay, I want this and this and this, and typically that list is pretty consistent, but lately they've been saying, I want no HOA. People don't love HOAs, I get it, but usually it's kind of something that they just accept, especially in an area like this where there are a lot of HOAs. People have been saying no HOAs lately. So I want to talk about some of the areas that have little to no HOA and have bigger lots. We're gonna go through a list of very specific areas in a few different towns, just so you guys can get a better idea. Okay, we're gonna start where I live, in Newport Richey, specifically on the east side of Newport Richey. So you have this kind of master plan-ish community called Trinity down on the southeast side of Newport Richey, and then as you go north from there, you're just on the border of Newport Richey and Odessa. And as you go over into Odessa, you're in like a big master plan community, Starkey Ranch. But on the west side, on the Newport Richey side, you have this charming kind of older area. You have a big blueberry farm. It's pretty interesting. Now, there are some typical HOA neighborhoods in there, but there are pockets throughout that have way bigger lots. We're up a little bit further north. We're actually north of Ridge Road. And we chose this area very specifically because Ridge Road now connects to the Veterans Expressway. So if I need to go down to Tampa, I'm just hopping on Ridge Road and then I'm going down the Veterans Expressway. Super easy. And I like to think about that kind of access whenever we look at these areas. So we'll kind of hit on how you would get to downtown Tampa from each of these areas. So Newport Richey has some unique options, not on the west side. When you go closer to the water, it gets more packed, it gets lower dollar sometimes, there's a lot of rentals. It's just different on the west side of Newport Richey than the east side of Newport Richey. But let's go to number 2. I'd hit on it a little bit, Odessa. Odessa, that you look up on the map, mostly shows what is in Pasco County. But there's a big part in Hillsborough County. When you look at the map, it says Keystone. But when you look at a house in that area, the address is Odessa. So we're gonna lump these areas kind of together, Odessa, Keystone, and we're gonna look at them like they're the same, because they kind of are. But that Keystone area is honestly my favorite area in the whole Tampa area. On the south side of it, you're in West Chase, which is like cool master plan community, kind of really close to Tampa. On the north side, when you exit some of these neighborhoods, you're like in horse farms. Super, super cool. And throughout this, there's a lot of little tiny pocket communities. Most of them don't have any HOA. Some of them are gonna have a little bit of deed restrictions. And those rules are like, you can't leave a trailer in the road. Deed restrictions are typically pretty loose and pretty understandable. It's not like they're telling you what you can and can't like put on your property, like trees or cut down or things like that. This Keystone area is actually super close to Tampa, really easy access into, especially the west side of Tampa when you go into West Chase, Citrus Park, airport area. All those areas are really accessible from Odessa and Keystone. This area is pretty expensive though, but you kind of get what you pay for. These are mostly custom houses out in this area or old quirky houses, and then mostly on like really big lots. Calling them lots isn't even fair, mostly on acreage. Okay, next I want to talk about Brandon and Riverview. And this area has some unique overlap with those two places, Brandon and Riverview, but it also has some overlap with some other areas like Lithia and like Bloomingdale. These areas that are unincorporated parts of Hillsborough County where you can get way bigger lots and you have more original neighborhoods to this area that are quirky and old and less regulated. You can get a lot of that out this way, especially as you go east in Riverview toward Lithia and Fishhawk. You get a lot more space. In this area, to get to downtown Tampa, you're probably gonna have to come over to I-75. You're gonna go north. It's gonna be pretty crowded during commute times, but what do you expect? Okay, another area we've been sending a lot of clients to recently is Parrish. Parrish is further south than Riverview. You can see it right here on the map. One unique thing about Parrish, you do have some newer master plan communities down there, but you also have some older areas. But the most unique thing about Parrish is that it's about equidistant between downtown Tampa and downtown St. Pete. Compare that to Wesley Chapel. Wesley Chapel is about the same distance from downtown Tampa as Parrish is, but it would take another 45 minutes or so to get to downtown St. Pete. Maybe 30 minutes. But it's very rare that you have a kind of a suburban area, whether it's with big lots or small lots, that is equidistant to those areas, those kind of job centers. And a lot of our clients that need to commute to St. Petersburg end up going down to that Bradenton, Parrish, Wimauma area. I kind of would lump Wimauma into this area and Ruskin, just south of Riverview, but north of Bradenton. There's a lot of interesting areas down here. Okay, I'm typically going to avoid Pinellas County in this list, but let's talk about it a little bit. There are some little pockets in Pinellas County, and they're just so hit or miss. You're gonna have places in Clearwater, in Largo, in St. Pete, in Palm Harbor that have big lots. They're just gonna be a lot more expensive. And they're gonna be just different. It's not like gonna be a whole neighborhood full of big lots. Even though you do hit some neighborhoods like Inniswood or Autumn Woods, these neighborhoods in Palm Harbor that do have bigger lots and more unique lots, but it's very rare to find a whole neighborhood like that in Pinellas County. Let's talk about Wesley Chapel real quick. Wesley Chapel does have areas like this, and I've sold houses in a few of them, and we even considered living in a few of them. As you go north in Wesley Chapel, it gets kind of narrow. On one side of that narrow strip, you have these like newer master plan communities, but right around those, there's a couple old neighborhoods. One is Saddlebrook. Saddlebrook is an old golf course community that they're renovating right now. But then right across the street, there's these other neighborhoods, old neighborhoods that have big lots. Kind of interesting. We actually stayed in one of those as an Airbnb during one of the hurricanes. So you have these little pockets over there, but then on the west side of I-75, backing up to the preserve, you have a neighborhood called Quail Hollow Pines. And then there's another Saddlebrook, I think it's called Saddlebrook back there, like a horse community, a gated community that's super interesting that has mostly 1 to 5 acre lots. There are just pockets like this that are super interesting. Quail Hollow Pines is a little bit more mix match, like it's not very consistent. And maybe if you're looking at an area like this, you're not expecting it to be that consistent. That's okay. But Quail Hollow is definitely not that consistent. We looked at that area and it was kind of the inconsistency that threw us off. It was more expensive than where we ended up buying, but it was less consistent, and like people just didn't take as great care of their properties. And I mean, I get it. People live in a place for 40, 50 years, they accumulate some stuff, and that's just really obvious in that neighborhood. Okay, Land O'Lakes. One of the first homes I sold out here was in Land O'Lakes, specifically in Paget Lake Estates. This neighborhood just north of Highway 54 off of US 41. A really interesting old neighborhood. Now, from one side of the neighborhood to the other is pretty different too. In one side you have these like older homes with big power lines up above, and then as you go a little further east, they buried the power lines and It's a little different and nicer. And I mean, every home in this area is like well water and septic tanks, and there's big lakes, and there's stables in the neighborhood if you want to board a horse. Not every lot is huge. A lot of them are 1/4 of an acre, some are an acre, but it does kind of have this non-HOA, old Florida kind of vibe. And there's a few other pockets like this in Land O'Lakes. Land O'Lakes is a charming town. There's not much of a downtown to it, but it's still pretty easy access to Tampa. Whether you're taking the Veterans Expressway, which is right on the western edge of Land O'Lakes, just by Bexley, a newer master plan community, or you're taking US 41 down into Tampa, you end up a little further east in Tampa when you go that route. There's a couple different ways to get in and out of Land O'Lakes, which I like. Okay, Lutz is one that comes up a lot too. There are, of course, some loved master plan communities in Lutz, like Cheval, because of how amazing the schools are. The public schools are right there. But there's other areas in Lutz that are older, specifically along Livingston. You see it right here on the map. We looked at houses out here too. They were just a little bit more than we wanted to spend, and we didn't want to get that far away from the water. But out in this area, there's some really unique properties. Because lots were just cut up a little bit differently, there's no small lots out here, and there's a lot of really unique custom homes out in this area. This is an area that I recommend to a lot of people, even to just explore and see what it would be like to have a bit more space around you. And then last on our list, this is number 9. We'll go back to the list, I promise. Of course, you can go further north. I've got a deal under contract right now in Spring Hill that is this kind of thing. Actually, the address says Weeki Wachee. I don't know why it says that. But it also says Spring Hill, some other places. We've looked up in the Hudson, Brooksville, Spring Hill area for a place that's a little more interesting, has a little bit more space around it. We've looked at some places that are an acre, some that are 2.5, and have some wetlands. The one we settled on is actually only 1/2 an acre, and it's newer construction, 2019. But there's places like that up there. The further north you go, the more you see those kind of things, the more quirks you get too. Like, some of these areas are more common for sinkholes. Flood zones are a little more confusing in these areas, even when they're away from the Gulf. Typically houses in a lot of these northern neighborhoods are septic tanks and well water, even this 2019 house. All those are things to get used to, but all those are pretty normal things. I mean, sinkholes and floods are not normal, but those are pretty understandable once you get to it. The septic tank and the well water is pretty normal once you start to see it in action. Okay, running back to the list real quick, and we'll put all of them up here. Number 1 was Newport Richey. Number 2 was the Odessa Keystone area. Number 3 was Brandon and Riverview, but specifically the east side of that area. Number 4 was Parrish, down a little further south. Number 5 was Little Pockets in Pinellas County. Number 6 was Wesley Chapel with the Saddlebrook area with the Quail Hollow Pines. Number 7 was Land O'Lakes, the Paget Lake Estates, and other similar neighborhoods. Number 8 was Lutz, and all those areas off of Livingston that are super big and charming. And then number 9 was further north, like Hudson, Spring Hill, Brooksville, those areas. If you're interested in properties like this or areas like this, we would love to help you. We have a lot of experience with these kind of properties specifically, and we are good at finding them right now. So I would love to hear from you guys. If you got value out of this, I want to hear from you. Give us a call, text, or email anytime. Thanks for coming by.